What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Waiver Wire Queen. Thanks for tuning in. Kudos to you guys for not blowing any opportunities to stay ahead of your competition in fantasy football. Today, we are going to talk about the top 10 wide receivers going into the 2022 fantasy football season. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you enjoy listening to the podcast, go on over to Spotify, Apple, and Google because we are out here in these fantasy football streets and we're trying to get you right for the upcoming season. So let's talk about it. I'll tell you guys, it was hard as hell trying to come up with my top 10 wide receivers going into the 2022 fantasy football season. There are some wide receivers I really love that didn't quite make this list. And then there were some wide receivers I had to move around because they've moved to new teams and they have some new quarterbacks. And so that may change some things. But nonetheless, let's jump right into it and give you exactly what you came here to look for. The top wide receivers in the NFL, right? No, this is just for fantasy purposes, y'all. Coming in at number 10, Keenan Allen with the Chargers. Played all 16 games. I was impressed with the fact that he played all 16 games. He is Justin Herbert's number one target. It is what it is. And he played very well. He was consistent. He was reliable this past season. I didn't have to stress about throughout the whole season getting those reports on whether Keenan Allen was going to play constantly. And this was one of the most surprising seasons because, most seasons he's always in and out. But let's talk about his stats. 106 receptions, 1,138 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. That is great as hell. He finished slightly outside of the top 10 for me last season, but he's in my top 10 to start the season, and that may change as we get closer to the start of the season. But nonetheless, right now he is in my top 10. He is my number 10 guy. He's definitely reliable when he is on that field. So if you have Justin Herbert and say you paired him up with Keenan Allen, kudos to you. Again, when he's out there, he's productive, and you know that he is going to at least get the yardage. If he's not going to score a touchdown, he's going to get the yardage for you, which is really good, which means if he's getting yardage, that means he's getting receptions. Nice PPR wide receiver. Let's talk about A.J. Brown. Have him in here at number 9 for the Titans. This past season, we're going to be honest, it was terrible. And what I mean by terrible, the injuries in and out of the lineup. You didn't know if he was going to be available. Then he was out for some games, came back, out again. It was just up and down. If you have him in a dynasty league, obviously you decided to, I'm going to hold on to him. But in a redraft league, it probably was a tough season because you drafted him to be at, if nothing else, if you didn't draft him as your wide receiver 1, you definitely had him as your wide receiver 2. And he obviously did not live up to the hype. But I expect him to live up to the hype this season because, again, we're going to hope that he is healthy. Also, Julio has left the building, another one who was injured a lot. And then they've added Robert Woods, who should complement Brown. You got Brown as your number 1, and then you have Woods as the number 2. I feel like they will complement each other, and to me, that is just a better 1-2 than him and Julio. Julio is obviously at the ending stages of his career, so just didn't work. Both of them were out, but this is going to be great, and I feel like this is going to help him improve as a wide receiver and should free him up a bit. And Robert Woods as well. Once he returns, now he is out. I'm gonna hope he's able to start the season. But nonetheless, Brown on the season, 63 receptions, 869 yards, 5 touchdowns. Again, playing alongside Robert Woods, hopefully to start the 2022 season, is going to be a good thing for Brown. He's finally going to get a reliable wide receiver to line up on the other side of him. He hasn't had that yet in Tennessee. Now we just need Ryan Tannehill to get him the damn ball. I told you guys that was a fluke season, but nonetheless, get him the damn ball. But keep in mind, y'all, the Titans are still a run first team. However, A.J. Brown should see a lot of targets and receptions. He's definitely going to be back up over 1,000. I'm going to say 1,200 yards, more than 63 receptions. I would love to see those touchdowns increase to 8. Let's talk about number 8, Deebo Samuel. He wasn't in anyone's top 10 to start the season last year. So y'all can stop fronting. Y'all know daggone well he wasn't in your top 10. But nonetheless, he finished as what? Wide receiver 2? He was amazing. Just an amazing athlete. You know, early on in his career, just in and out of the lineup due to injuries. We all was able to see signs of a really good wide receiver. But again, with the injuries, you're like, ooh, not going to work. Played very well this past season. Had a career year. All of his stats, career highs, because he was able to pretty much play a full season healthy, and he was their guy. They drafted him to be their number 1, and he simply played as the number 1. I know some people have him in their top 5, but again, we have so many good wide receivers in the NFL, and then there are so many wide receivers who are better than him. He's in my top 10, which I don't normally, again, include Deebo in there, but I simply cannot ignore the production. Again, before I tell you his stats, this upcoming season, the key is going to be quarterback play. Is Trey going to be the starting quarterback? Or if they do not trade Jimmy G, are they going to go back to the Jimmy G thing? I would really love to see what Trey and Deebo can do together, because I think that's going to be a great connection. That's going to be a great quarterback wide receiver duo for years to come. And I'm ready to see it. But nonetheless, let's talk about his receiving stats on the season. 77 receptions, 1,405 yards, 6 touchdowns. Again, all career highs. And then he's not only out here receiving the ball, he's rushing the ball. He's like, I'll be your running back. He like 49ers. If I can't catch it, I'm going to run the damn ball. I'm going to run the damn ball. And that's exactly what he did. 59 attempts, 366 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Like, wow, there's running backs in the NFL that didn't get 8 touchdowns. And when you have someone like Deebo Samuel as your wide receiver getting 8 touchdowns, and then in the rushing game, and then you're adding 6, that is why his production was so great. And if you had Deebo, he probably helped you advance to the championship rounds. I'm telling you, I had him in the league. I'll be pleased and excited to tell you guys I have won this league for the last, I think, like, if it's not 2 years, 3 years. I'm going to say it's 2 years. And obviously I'm the only female in this league, and I've won at least 2 years in a row. And I had Deebo, one of my guys. And I'm like, okay, Deebo, let's do this again. So I may be looking at Deebo, but I do feel like some people are going to definitely draft him a little bit earlier than where he should go. And it all depends on that quarterback play. It may hurt his stats. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I do have him in my top 10 for the first time. Let's talk about number 7. That's right, y'all. One of my favorite wide receivers in the damn game today. DeAndre Hopkins. That is right. One of my guys. I know some people are like, why is he still in the top 10? He is still a damn top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Health is wealth. I will say that. Health is an important factor. Wasn't healthy last year. Only played 10 games. He has a good young quarterback in Kyler Murray, but Kyler Murray has some things he has to improve on, but they do need to add some more offensive weapons, because even though you had AJ Green, we know he's at the end of his career. Christian Kirk has always been inconsistent, but he is no longer with the Cardinals. So is Moore going to step up? You know, to me, I feel like they should add another wide receiver. But at the end of the day, if Hopkins is healthy, he's a top 5 wide receiver. He can be a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL and in fantasy if he's healthy and if they are getting him the ball. I expect both of those things this year. Yeah, I'm crossing my fingers for both. I'm crossing. At least if nothing, the health is very important. If he's on the field, you have an opportunity to dominate your competition because he is that type of wide receiver. He's a wide receiver that is going to impact the game in fantasy and in the NFL. But for fantasy purposes, he will impact the game if he is playing. And again, he can be dominant at times and help you win weeks where when some of your other players aren't playing well. But let's talk about his stats. Again, down season, did not play a full season. 42 receptions, 572 yards, 8 touchdowns. Just think about that. 8 touchdowns. And he only played 10 games. Just imagine what he would have done if he had played a full season. But nonetheless, it is what it is. I expect Hopkins to bounce back, and he's going to be healthy. He's going to play every game this year, y'all. He's going to play every game, and he's going to produce. So if you have him, hold on to him. If you're in a dynasty league and someone is trying to trade him because they're down on him, then I would definitely target Hopkins because I do believe this is going to be a really good year for him. He's going to bounce back. It's going to be really, really good. And I'm going to be excited. I don't have Hopkins. I'm very upset about that. I may have to definitely check for him in a redraft league. So, again, he's still in my top, y'all. Coming in at number 6, Stefon Diggs. Last season, I had him in my top 5. This season, slightly out of my top 5. Again, you simply couldn't expect him to come and produce what he did in 2020. It's just impossible. He still had a really good year, okay? Stats slightly down, but it was still very good and very productive. 103 receptions. That is still really good. 1,225 receiving yards. 10 touchdowns. I really love that. That is very good production. Okay, so my opinion, good production. And they added Crowder, so I think that's going to help as well. And you're hoping to see Davis take it to the next level, take the next step. And part of that is allowing him to play more. Let him play. This will help Diggs. You are adding better wide receivers. That is going to free up Diggs a little bit more as well. And he had 24 less receptions in 2021. In 2020, he had 127 receptions and over 1,500 receiving yards. Again, you did not expect him to repeat that. But again, 2021 was still a really good year for Diggs. Let's jump into the top 5, y'all. One of my favorite young wide receivers. All of them is my favorite, y'all. I know y'all hear me say that all the time. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Number 5, Ja'Marr Chase, Rookie of the Year. I should have introduced him differently. Coming in at number 5, Rookie of the Year, Ja'Marr Chase. That is right. Again, everyone was panicking. I even will admit, before the season started, all the noise coming out of training camp, he's not catching the ball, not playing well, a lot of negatives. And I was like, woo, should I let him go? Should I trade him? Dynasty? And then I was thinking like, well, I drafted him with the 3rd pick in my Dynasty League. I am going to hold on to him. He is one of my building blocks. My team is in full rebuild mode, and Chase and Pitts are part of that build. Those are my 2 building blocks. So I said, okay, I'm going to hold on to him. And I am pleased. I made the right decision. Now I got everybody trying to offer me an arm, leg, and everything else for Ja'Marr Chase. And I'm like, nah, you're going to have to give me a mansion, a yacht, and a Bentley in order to get Ja'Marr Chase. And I still may say no. Woo, y'all. But nonetheless, impressive. I'll just say this. Burrow, Chase, Higgins, that's going to be great for years to come. And they have Boyd still too. So, woo! Ja'Marr Chase, I can't say enough about how talented he is and how he proved everyone wrong. 81 receptions, 1,455 yards, 13 touchdowns. I was impressed. I was impressed with him in the playoffs as well as the Super Bowl. He's got it. I'm sorry. Even though I'll tell you that going into the draft last year, I was expecting Cincinnati to address that offensive line, and I was like, "Ooh, they gonna get Burrow killed." Obviously, he was the most sacked. However, I see now that was a great move, and they are addressing that offensive line. So just imagine with a better offensive line and you have all these offensive weapons, Cincinnati is still going to be a problem in the AFC. So y'all check for them. But again, rookie of the year doing big things. That's right, Jamar Chase. Top 5. I'm sorry. I have to put him in my top 5. Again, I was thinking about it and I'm like, okay, let me pull Diggs back in, and I said, no. This is what it is. And there's some players I wanted to move, other players I wanted to kind of move out, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put Chase at number 5. He probably can move up a bit higher. I guarantee you, in your drafts, Chase is going to be going higher than you may expect. Some of you may think because, it's just a rookie 1 year. If you want Chase, you're going to be drafting him as your wide receiver 1. You're going to be drafting him as your top wide receiver. So you can't, if you want him, you're going to have to go and get him. You're not going to be able to wait to the second, third, fourth. No, not going to be there. I guarantee you there's going to be someone in one of my redraft leagues that's going to draft him in the first round. And it may be a good move for them. But if you're wanting to draft Chase, you cannot play any games and expect him to be available in the second or third round. It's most likely not going to happen. So if you can get him in the second round, you better snatch him up, because you're not going to get him in the third round. It's not going to be there. But I do believe his stats will be slightly down in the 2022 season, but I still expect him to produce. You just can't expect, with all of those weapons, for him to come out and produce the same stats for 2022. But I will say he'll be more along the lines, maybe 1,200 receiving yards or even 13 between that area. I still expect him to be impressive, but I don't think he'll hit the 1,400 mark. But if he does, I'm all for it. Coming in at number 4, wasn't my top 2, but had to move him on out. Tyreek Hill. I don't care what y'all say. I do not believe in Tua. I do expect Tyreek Hill to still do Tyreek Hill type things. But again, Tua is incapable of staying healthy. So that means Teddy's going to have to be in there. And Teddy ain't getting the damn ball down the field to Tyreek Hill like Mahomes was doing. So I expect his stats to be slightly down. I do expect him to play very well still, but he is not going to have the statistical production this season that he normally would produce when he's with the Chiefs, when he's with Mahomes, y'all. But nonetheless, on the 2021 season, 111 receptions, 1,239 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I still expect him to have a really good season. You gotta understand, Waddle went for 1,000 with Tua not being that great. So I still expect him to produce. I just don't expect the 1,500. I don't expect it. And then you also got to understand that the Chiefs didn't have as good of a wide receiver too, because I'm going to move Waddle to the wide receiver too, as what Miami has. That's a nice 1-2 punch with Hill and Waddle. But I'd rather have Mahomes throwing me the football than Tua. But I still expect him to be good. It's going to be some growing pains. And again, I just have to see if Tua can be accurate and throw the ball down the field. Now, again, with Tyreek Hill, you can get him the ball anywhere and he will be productive. But I still think it's going to be some growing pains. Coming in at number 3, Cooper Kupp. He is my favorite wide receiver in the NFL. So if you didn't know, now you know. Wide receiver 1, number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. I said it at the beginning of the season. He is going to have a bounce back year. Goff is gone. He has left the building, and he has Matthew Stafford throwing him side throws. He's throwing it from the side, from the back, around the back. I thought it was a pass. Thought I was watching basketball, but nonetheless, Cooper Kupp. It doesn't get any better than what he did. You just won't be able to duplicate what he did statistically during the 2021 season. So Stats will be slightly down. Expected. I don't expect him to have a career year like he did. It was just over the top. It was something that's going to be in the history books. You just don't expect it. 145 receptions, 1,947 receiving yards, 16 touchdowns, all career highs. He had a career year. You have your career year. You're not going to have a career year the next year. Oh, that Brown, y'all. Wave White Queen out here rapping for y'all. Anyways, again, Cooper Kupp, one of my favorites. He's still going to be really good. He played all 17 games. He's still going to be really, really good. I'll stress that. But it's not going to be the same. So don't expect him to go for 2,000. I don't see that happening. And again, they've added Allen Robinson, so hopefully he can remain healthy. You did see that sometimes, was a little weak. Matthew Stafford had some moments. But I don't know if they're going to bring back OBJ, but say they was to bring back OBJ, don't know if he's going to even play this season due to the knee injury, but what if he was to come back at some point? That's a lot of mouths to feed. I still, again, will stress, I expect him to be very productive, but I don't see him going for 1,900, 2,000 yards. But he's still going to be damn good, which is why he's in my top 3. Now, let's be honest. Has anyone ever drafted Cooper Kupp in the first or the second round in fantasy football? Most likely not. He most likely has gone in maybe the 4th round, 3rd, 4th, or 5th round, between those rounds in the past. But some people may be drafting him first, second round because of the type of season he just had. So you have to be careful with that, guys. Be careful and don't reach. Again, I expect him to be really good, but be careful with what you're trying to do and don't just make decisions because he had this career year, he's going to do it again. He's not going to duplicate this. So be wise when you are out here drafting, but understand that Cooper Kupp is the man, y'all. He is really, really, really good for what they have going on out there. And again, one of my faves. Coming in at number 2, Justin Jefferson. That is right. Justin Jefferson with the Vikings. Inconsistent quarterback play. Kirk Cousins, second cousin, somebody's cousin, just not my cousin because he is so inconsistent. With Kirk, is always the first few quarters, he's looking terrible. Then he pick it up and then it's like, okay, where was that energy in the first, second, and third quarter? You heard of my production. I hope they address the quarterback position. Just think of it. Justin Jefferson went for 108 receptions, 1,616 receiving yards, and 10 touchdowns with Kirk Cousins. And again, at sometimes he was inconsistent. He finished as the wide receiver 4. I don't expect him to finish any worse than what he did in 2021. He's just that guy. Him and Chase, it's like if you're on the board and you have to pick Chase or you have to pick Jefferson, it's like, ooh, both are very good young wide receivers and they'll be in the top 5 for years to come because they are just really, really good. Can't go wrong with Chase and you cannot go wrong with Jefferson. Coming in at number 1, still number 1, Davante Adams. What's my number 1 wide receiver last year? Is still my number 1 wide receiver this year. I don't care that he is no longer with Aaron Rodgers playing for the Green Bay Packers. No more Green Bay Packers, no more cheeseheads. He is playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's going to be receiving passes from Derek Carr. This was a very good move for more so Derek Carr because Derek Carr has lacked a true number 1 wide receiver over the last few years. Cooper was solid, but he had some inconsistent moments with the Raiders. He has a number 1. He has a legit number 1 wide receiver and a legit top 5 tight end. So that is all they needed. You still have Hunter Renfrow, so this is really good. And you also got to realize with Davante Adams, he's playing with his boy. So I think he will be good. They may have to kind of readjust and get used to each other again, which that is fine. Get used to McDaniel's system, but he's still going to be very, very good. And then he has Hunter Renfrow and you have Darren Waller, very good weapons for Devontae Adams, to be around Devontae Adams. So I have him as my wide receiver one again on the 2021 season. 123 receptions, over 1,500 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns. I do expect those stats to be slightly down because it's not only him. You're going to have Darren Waller in the mix and Hunter Renfrow, but bets believe McDaniels is going to find a way to get Devontae Adams involved. You didn't trade for him. You didn't give up all that draft capital to bring him in and not utilize him. This is going to be a exciting offense to watch. This is what Derek Carr has always needed, and he's got it. And this is going to be a great move for both parties, which is why I still have Adams as my wide receiver one. But Justin Jefferson is coming, y'all. And I wouldn't be surprised if I re-rank as we get closer to the season based on some other factors that may occur. And now you have Justin Jefferson as the wide receiver one. It's not impossible. He has the talent, and he is that guy, and he's that bad. But at the end of the day, right now, today, it's Devontae Adams out here in these fantasy football streets. Y'all make sure you subscribe to the channel if you enjoy listening to the podcast. Go on over to Spotify, Apple, or Google. Leave some comments, feedback for us. Make sure you like this video and leave some comments on who your top 10 wide receivers are, and let us know if we got it right for you guys with our top 10 wide receiver rankings. I also will mention that CeeDee Lamb is coming too. It's time. But nonetheless, y'all, have a great evening. Peace.